If you struggle with self confidence, you feel crippled by what other people think of you, or you feel held back by just a low sense of self worth, then I think this video will help you because I'm going to share 5 things that will help you start building self confidence from the inside so you don't have to chase things to feel good about yourself. So, in order from what I would consider to be the least impactful to the most impactful, first one would be to stop outsourcing your decision making. I think that a lot of times we seek other people's input to make decisions on our own life, what we should do with our own life. And a lot of times that teaches us to not stand on our own 2 feet. We learn to rely on other people to make decisions for us. And a lot of times this comes from a lack of confidence within ourselves to make the right decision because we don't want to fail. We don't want to go down the wrong path or what we think would be the wrong path. And it's this way of thinking that feeds into the reliance on other people to make decisions. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting some input every now and again, but if you can't make a decision without asking your parents or your spouse or your siblings or your friends, then it comes down to having a stronger sense of confidence within yourself to be able to pick yourself back up if you do make a decision that maybe wasn't the best one. But the thing is there isn't really any wrong decisions. There's decisions that get you closer to where you want to get to faster, and there's decisions that you'll learn from. But either way, it's an opportunity to learn and to grow. So I think learning to make decisions on your own is really important for building confidence within yourself. The next one would be to keep promises to yourself or to stop breaking promises to yourself. And this one's really important because if you don't have your own word within yourself, you say you're going to do something and you don't follow through on it, it's going to diminish your sense of confidence because you don't have that integrity that you are who you say you are. And I think integrity is imperative if you want to have a stronger sense of self, to have more self confidence. Because without integrity, you've got nothing. It's kind of the backbone of confidence that you are who you say you are. Because if you're not who you say you are, you're like a leaf blowing in the wind. No internal guidance system. So keeping promises to yourself, I think, is extremely important for improving your sense of confidence and your sense of self worth. Because every time you break a promise to yourself, you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, you tell yourself that you aren't who you say you are. Your word means nothing. And your own self belief, your own self concept diminishes every time you do that. And to go along with this, breaking promises to yourself is giving up on yourself. The two kind of go hand in hand. If you give up on yourself, you didn't follow through on something that you said you were going to do. Maybe on a bigger scale, but same thing. Maybe you said you wanted to, train for the half marathon or 5 kilometer run or something like that. And something came up and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to do it anymore. You gave up on yourself. And that is surely going to diminish your confidence versus if you stuck through it, even though maybe you wouldn't have gotten the time that you wanted, following through on something like that, extremely, extremely powerful for building your sense of self confidence. The fact that I did this, I followed through. And it's telling yourself that you can follow through, you can do these hard things. So giving up on yourself, I think, is the biggest failure because if you give up on yourself, you don't even have yourself. And the thing is we are the only constant in our lives. From the day that we're born till the day we die, we're the only constant. You might have other things in your life that stick with you for a long period, but things can come and go outside of you, and they do. But as long as you're alive, you've got yourself. So if you give up on yourself, you don't really actually have yourself. You're just existing in this body, but you're not actually there for you. So keep promises to yourself and don't give up on yourself. The next one kind of ties into the last one, and it's doing hard things. When you do hard things, you're proving to yourself that you can do hard things, that you have what it takes to do it. A lot of character is built in doing difficult tasks. For me, it's fitness. I love pushing myself in the gym. It's something that I've been doing for a while, and it really builds that mental muscle within yourself that you can do hard things. You can push yourself, and it translates into everyday life. It's not just the gym. It translates into, okay, can I be resilient when things aren't going my way, or if I'm up against some hardships or whatever it is, some inconveniences or adversity comes my way. The more you can do difficult things, the more you're proving to yourself that you can do these difficult things. Your own sense of self-worth begins to rise because you know that you have your back. You know that if things don't go the way you wanted, at least you will still have yourself to pick yourself back up. There's a really good quote, and it goes, if you know how to swim, it doesn't matter how deep the water is. And I think it just speaks to this idea of when you have yourself, when you're solid and you're there for you, and you've got this strong sense of self worth, this strong sense of self, it doesn't matter what comes your way. You know how to swim. It doesn't matter how deep the water is. You know how to get yourself. You know how to pick yourself back up. You've got the mental resilience. You've got the self-confidence. You've got everything it takes within to be able to rise to the challenge. And I think doing difficult things or getting outside your comfort zone is really important to build that muscle within yourself, that character. The next one is looking after yourself. Looking after yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, it's extremely important. And, going to the gym or being active, it doesn't mean you have to be, a competitive bodybuilder or powerlifter or high end athlete or anything like that. But just going to the gym and pushing yourself and looking after your body is so important. If your physical vessel is not where it could be, and I don't mean that you have to push yourself to the peak of what's possible for you, but if you are letting yourself go, how could one possibly have confidence within themselves or a strong sense of self-worth? Now, maybe some can. And this is where there's kind of a line where if you only have confidence if your body is in peak physical condition, then that's also a problem, because this video isn't about chasing things outside of you in order to feel good. It's about feeling good within yourself. And I think fitness and a healthy lifestyle is very important for nourishing yourself so you can feel good. Because the thing is if you're not looking after yourself, how can you feel your best? How can you feel your best if you're putting fast food and junk food in your body all the time? You can't. I've actually been there before where I had to gain a bunch of weight because I was on the Canadian bobsleigh team. And during that period of time, I was eating super unhealthy food just to put weight on. And I felt horrible mentally. And it was a really cool kind of experiment, if you will. I wouldn't do it again, but it was a really cool experiment because I got to see the direct impacts of how our nutrition impacts our mind. There is a direct correlation there. So if you're not nourishing your body with good food and looking after your body, getting stronger, feeling more physically capable within yourself, it's very difficult to feel confident. I don't know about you, but the times I've felt really confident is when I feel physically capable, like life isn't holding me back, that there's no physical challenge that can hold me back. So I think that looking after yourself physically through fitness, nutrition is very important. I think also nourishing your spirit by being present, by living mindfully, is also extremely important, because you begin to separate yourself from your thoughts. You're no longer identified with the limiting thoughts and the negative self-talk that maybe once held you back. I think a lot of us have negative self-talk. I know I've had negative self-talk in my life, and for a long time, it kept me really in a lower state within myself. I really lacked self-confidence. But in meditating, in coming back to that spiritual center within myself, just pure awareness, I began to separate myself from the thoughts. They were just an old story that kept me stuck, that I didn't have to live by anymore. And in not believing them, not identifying with them through meditation, through mindfulness practices, I began to become more self confident naturally because I realized those thoughts weren't true. And I could choose to act in different ways that did boost my self confidence, like the things I've talking about in this video. So the last one is knowing your values. And I think this is the center of it all. If you don't know yourself or your values, then you're kind of like that leaf blowing in the wind. Again, with no internal guidance system of what is best aligned for you. If we don't have a set of values that we're living by, we're going to constantly chase things outside of us to feel good. And that is not self confidence. You might feel okay when you get more money, when you get the car, when you lose the weight, whatever it is, you get the promotion. But that's not true confidence. That's something that can be stripped away from you at any moment. Again, you are the only constant in your life. The money can come and go, the partner can come and go, your health is going to go at some point, your body's going to diminish over time. But as long as you have yourself, your sense of values, your sense of authenticity, nothing can take that away from you. You can keep that and live with that as long as you're around, and you build on that the more you act in alignment with your values. So knowing what your values are, your top 5 or 10 values, will govern your decisions, and by living from those things, you fuel yourself from the inside out. You're led from the inside out rather than chasing things just to feel good, just to soothe yourself. So knowing your values is kind of the key piece of all of this. If you don't know your values, it's very difficult to have self-confidence. But when you're acting and living in alignment with these things, when you're doing the best you can for you based on your values, you'll feel better. Because it is very difficult to feel your best, to feel confident, to have a strong sense of self-worth when you're not doing your best for you, when you're lying to yourself, when you're procrastinating, when you're outsourcing your decision making all the time, when you're not keeping promises to yourself, when you're putting crappy food in your body, when you're sitting around all the time, when you feel like you're being lazy, that those things, when you're living from that place, it's very hard to have confidence within yourself, to feel your best. And I think feeling your best starts with doing your best, and doing your best starts with knowing what your values are, knowing what direction you want to take your life, what's important to you, and start moving that direction right now, because you can do it today. You can start figuring out what your values are. You can start acting and living in alignment with those things now. And as soon as you start doing that, you start building your worth, your sense of self, your confidence from the inside out. So I hope this video helps you. These are 5 things that have helped me build confidence in my life and kind of continue to come back to, because there's ups and downs, but as long as you build yourself, then it doesn't matter what happens outside of you, you still have yourself there. Again, it doesn't matter how deep the water is if you know how to swim. So just to review, stop outsourcing your decision making, keep promises to yourself, do hard things that are outside your comfort zone, nourish your mind, body, and soul, and know your values. Those things will help you build confidence from the inside out starting today. So hope this video helps, and I'll see you in the next video.